All right. Call me crazy.
You are.
The last team to be at the record the Detroit Red Wings are currently at with a 26, 21, and 5 was the 2017 St. Louis Blues. The St. Louis Blues went on to win the Stanley Cup this year. My belief is that the Detroit Red Wings can win the Stanley Cup this year.
Are you?
Alrighty, Evan, welcome back. This is a great day in the sports world. We are on the precipice of one of the greatest games to be ever played in the Super Bowl history, but the fans aren't thinking so. There's been a significant amount of people not going to this game. The tickets have declined. What are your thoughts on a repeat of a Super Bowl that was 2 years ago? Like, what are you thinking in that regard? Like, is it just too much of the same two teams, or what are your thoughts on it?
I've seen a lot of TikToks and a lot of crazy conspiracies. I've heard it's a lot of like, oh, doomsday or what have you. A lot of things are going to be out there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting thought to think about. I mean, it is weird to think the Super Bowl is the prices are going down. I am a little surprised. I really couldn't tell you, honestly.
My thing is with this, and I think that the fans out there can agree, no one wants this matchup. No one wanted this in the get-go. I think there is a lot of people out there that wanted the Bills versus the Lions and so on and so forth, Washington versus the Bills, Ravens versus, Washington.
Anyone but KC.
Anyone but KC. And I think everyone also kind of said anyone but Philly, too, because I feel like the Philly fans, from what I saw from their reactions, were very obnoxious. But we are here, folks, and we are about to diagnose our winners for the Super Bowl. Evan, who do you got taking this win?
Go Birds.
All right. Why? Who are your key players in this game?
Honestly, I think my biggest X factor relies on Saquon Barkley. If Saquon Barkley has a day like he has had time and time again, KC's screwed.
Okay.
Saquon is that X factor that you have to, game plan accordingly, because he's not just any old running back. I mean, he can catch the ball and he can run the ball and create open space anywhere he goes.
My thing with Saquon is that if you start blitzing and bringing more guys up to the line of scrimmage than the line can handle, and you have to pull a fullback in there, you're going to really hurt your play action game, because then you have to respect Kansas City blitzing. Yes. I'm picking Kansas City because, one, they got two players that always show up in this game, and one of them is not Patrick Mahomes there, folks. I'm looking at Travis Kelce to have a big game. He hasn't had a big game all year. Historically in the Super Bowl, he's one of the better tight ends to play the game. When it comes to it, he makes clutch catches like he did a couple of years ago in their first Super Bowl win. But my thing is that Travis Kelce also has, one, a lot of pressure on him, and two, he performs well under pressure. And my second guy for the Kansas City Chiefs is Chris Jones, who has had a very good year. And I think, if KC forces Jalen Hurts to pass and not necessarily run with Saquon or hand it off to any one of the wide receivers and forces them to become one-dimensional team, I feel like Chris Jones can also come up big in the pass rush game and get a lot of pressures on Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts, unlike Patrick Mahomes, falters under pressure. And we've seen it throughout his career, especially in big games like this.
To your point then, okay. So you're saying Jalen Hurts make him one-dimensional. All right.
Yeah.
Let's take it a little bit, like a little blast from the past here.
Yes.
And all right, so say you can beat Thanos for a day, and you get to choose one offensive player all time from either team. So you get to choose an offensive player from the Chiefs all time and defense to make them that much better. Offensively for the Chiefs, since you have the Chiefs winning.
Yes.
Who do you have offensively?
Offensively, I have the cheetah himself, Tyreek Hill. I think him and Worthy in that combo would be deadly. It'd be almost like an Amon-Ra St. Brown type-esque matchup. And, who do you got offensively for the Eagles? Let's go right back at you.
Honestly, it was a toss-up. I'm like, I could go receiver. I could go T.O., but I could also go a great quarterback in Randall Cunningham or Donovan McNabb. I mean, they're all great. Honestly, I will stick to. I would bring back. I mean, he's barely removed, but I would choose Jason Kelsey. I mean, yeah, this offensive line of Philly is amazing, but if you bring back who arguably the longest tenured center in recent memory, I mean, the dude was the catalyst that defined the tush push. Honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, T.O. would be great. I mean, you could
He
also
would be another weapon for you.
yeah, but at the same time, you already have what you need offensively when it comes to it. Why not bolster the line enough to where
Yeah. I mean,
it's
you can make an argument for Jason Kelsey as well. I think a prime Jason Kelsey would really help this. It
absolutely.
would make this team unstoppable. But
defensively for KC, who do you have?
I have one of arguably the greatest pass rusher of all time. He played 11 seasons with the Chiefs until his death in 2000. Derek Thomas, DT.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He recorded 126.5 career sacks. I mean, the guy was unbelievable. Him combined with Chris Jones and then that secondary lights out. I think the Chiefs would win that game nine times out of 10.
Wonderful pick.
Thank you. Let's break it down even more. Who do you got defensively for the Eagles?
I mean, you could go down the list everywhere. I mean, you have Brian Dawkins, Weapon X, arguably one of the most iconic Philly players in our lifetime.
Okay.
But I'm going to go back. I'm going Reggie White, Minister of Defense.
Okay. Yeah.
Arguably the best defensive player in pro football, not named Lawrence Taylor.
Okay. So we obviously here have disagreeing opinions.
I will challenge you on one thing, though.
Okay.
You said Tyreek Hill for the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Have you heard of the name Tony Gonzalez?
But we have Travis Kelsey, and we have this new kid
So what?
in their tight end as well.
Here's my thought, though.
Yeah.
Tony Gonzalez was not your typical tight end.
Oh,
Tony Gonzalez was a wide receiver in a tight end body.
Was Travis, so it's like.
But imagine you have two, and you can throw it to either guy, and you got a one-on-one matchup.
But I mean, you kind of have that right now with Travis Kelsey and this young kid they picked up in the draft. I mean, I really like this guy.
Fair.
He's looking like Travis Kelsey-esque, a player. I mean, it's really
flip
crazy.
The script on you then.
Yeah.
Who would you add if you have the Philly offense?
The Philly offense, it'd be Jason Kelsey all day long. The dude was a genius. I mean, I have a lot of respect for offensive linemen, what they do, and not many people do. As far as how well they can impact a game. If you have a good offensive line,
too. He was always healthy.
Yeah, he was never injured. I mean, it's like one of those things. You look at some other players around the league who are getting traded right now. They have issues. But before we get into the Cooper Kupp stuff, let's look at our keys for the game. One of my keys for the game, offensively for the Chiefs, is utilize Travis Kelsey, take those deep chops, and limit sacks. But one of the things that I look at as a detriment to the Eagles defense is when you do try to get Patrick Mahomes and home him down. You see the pun I did there, but it's one of those things with Patrick Mahomes is that if you get a broken play with him, he'll go out and scramble or either throw it. He's a very good improviser. I would say he's probably better than Aaron Rodgers ever was at improvisation. Thank you, for the love of God, for speaking right.
I would agree. I mean, if you are Philly, I mean, defensively, you have to make Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you keep him off balance and off his game, you have this in the bag. I mean, I'm not saying obviously in the bag, so to speak, but as long as you keep making Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable down after down,
yeah,
eventually it's going to break and you'll get through. I mean, that I would say is the huge key for us to fit very, very defense that is ferocious. I mean,
yeah,
no matter what happens, make sure that you contain Patrick Mahomes. Because if you do, I mean, it's your game to win at that point. You have the running game that can run the clock out as much as they want. I mean,
and that's one of my things is I remember when Patrick Mahomes a couple of years ago said the Chiefs are never underdogs. I don't know about this one.
They're a damn really big underdog in this. I mean, the spread doesn't say it, but at the same time, this is a Philly team that has improved drastically.
Yeah, and
it's a team that,
going from Swift to Saquon, it's a big jump in production.
And not just that. I mean, you're looking at a team that I would say defensively is even better. I mean, you don't have Fletcher Cox, but at the same time, you have a Philly defense where they're willing to tell you, all right, come at us, but we will hold you back. It's a team that punishes you time and time again. And I mean, if they do what they have done all year, Patrick Mahomes is going to have a long game ahead.
And that's my thing, is that, like, I think it's going to come down to who can, be creative on defense and who can stop each other. I really think it's going to be like the offenses are going to be, they're high flying. You got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Worthy on the Kansas City Chiefs. You got Saquon, Brown, and their quarterback over there in Hurts. But, like, you got these three, six monumental players in the NFL who are doing things that are just unbelievable in the league. My thing is going to come down to the defense. And I think, if you can contain Patrick Mahomes and you can get to the quarterback and get him down in the backfield, you win this game. You take away, Kareem Hunt in the run game, then you make Patrick Mahomes throw on 3rd and 15. But my thing is if you're the Eagles right now, you don't want to commit any penalties, because Patrick Mahomes, I mean, there's this aura going around that he's cheating. They've asked him this, they've asked Kelce this. Hey, is the refs, are you in contact with the refs? And
who's your favorite ref, guys?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's a shame on the media, because, like, also shame on the NFL too. Like, everyone, the PR for the Kansas City Chiefs must be, like, shooting themselves in the foot, because they're about to have the opportunity to win a three-peat. And it's one of my things that it's like, it's just so disappointing when you look at, like, this hasn't been done ever in NFL history. And people are saying, oh, it's because of the refs. That's the only reason why they're here. And I mean, the spots were a little interesting. I wouldn't just say
the spots.
But,
I mean,
like,
if you're
the Eagles, regardless of how the refs have favored the Kansas City Chiefs or not have favored the Kansas City Chiefs, you cannot commit penalties. Neither team can. I think it's going to be a detriment to either side. But my point I was getting to on the defensive side of the ball for Kansas City is you got to create turnovers. You got to keep Jalen Hurts guessing on what you're throwing out there coverage wise. But you also got to keep their offense honest.
Philly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing. I would say the game plan for both teams is very similar. I mean, keeping the offense or defense honest for both sides. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is able to create something out of nothing. I mean, Saquon's the same thing. So as long as what you're doing is keeping everyone in check and keeping everyone honest, you're in a better spot.
Yeah. So what's your final score of the game?
Honestly, I'm thinking I'm going to go back to the 2 years. I'm thinking it's still going to be a really high scoring game. I hope. At least I hope.
Okay.
I'm thinking at least 35-31, maybe. I think it's going to be high scoring. I still think Philly's going to pull it out. I mean, for some miracle, if KC wins it, I mean, so be it. But at the same time, I really do think this Philly team has everything they need to beat Kansas City.
Yeah. My thing is this. So the last game, Philly played, it was in the playoffs too. They're averaging about a 15-point difference between them and their opponent. Kansas City is averaging about a 6.5 point, so a touchdown. My thing is that it's going to come down to defense. I think these defenses are ready to go. I think the inexperience of Philly's corners gives Patrick Mahomes a little extra boost to be able to, kind of mess him around with his eyes and whatnot. I think he puts on a show. I think he throws for over 300 yards in this game, a couple touchdowns. Yeah, I'm thinking he's going to put his foot down and say, you know what, to the rest of the world, I'm the king. Everyone should bow. And it's I'm not glazing. He is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever walk the earth. I think no one argues that. I think honestly, people do overglaze him, but I haven't commented on Patrick Mahomes all season. If you go back to the tapes, I've just said he's a good quarterback and moved on. But what he's able to do with this team is he's able to win one-score games. And I think it'll come down to a one-score game.
Yeah, if it's not a one-score game, you're screwed.
Yeah, I'm saying it's like 31-24. Give me that number. Like right around there. So like 8 points difference, like something like that. That's what I'm kind of thinking. I don't think it's going to get that high. The over-under, I think, is 58 points.
I have not.
Yeah, the over-under is 48.5 points.
Okay.
So... yeah, no, this will be an interesting game. I'm excited. It should be fun. We have a lot of other news to talk about around the league here, folks. We're talking now the trade requests that have been happening. And one I did not expect, but one I kind of was like, okay, this makes sense. First, going to talk about the one I kind of it was like, yeah, this makes sense. And this is the Myles Garrett trade. And I mean, if you're the Browns right now and you're sitting here, you're trading your cornerstone player away. What are you saying to yourself?
I mean, I see he hasn't explicitly been said that he's actually getting traded. He wants out, but like, we also saw his GM at the Pro Bowl say, "There's no way in hell I'm getting you anywhere but staying here." So I don't know. I don't know what's
So
fully.
my question is that, say they don't trade him. Say it's all like the GM's like not bluffing. What if he pulls a what's his name, Jimmy Butler, and doesn't play like he did for Miami so long? What if he throws a fit? And like, I know we don't like to talk about this, but like
He pulls
it's
the diva action.
Yeah, he pulls. I mean, he's the best, arguably the best pass rusher in the league right now, and he deserves to win a championship. And for the how many years does he have under contract? 2 more? 2. So, I mean, my thing is that if you're Myles Garrett, yes, you want out because there's a lot of contenders besides the Chiefs that you can go to and that you can easily win on. The Commanders, Lions, and Packers, I think, are all.
Since when are the Packers in the conversation?
I think the Packers have been in the conversation. They made the playoffs this year, so I think they're in every conversation.
No,
but I think if they get a player like Myles Garrett or up that defense a little bit, I think it will help them out. Sure, Jordan Love didn't play the greatest in those games.
Honestly, I wouldn't say they need defensive help. I think they need a receiver help. If you looked at the game they played against Philly, they were on their 5th string receiver by the end of the game.
No, and like I mean, but I'm just saying Myles Garrett wouldn't hurt. He wouldn't hurt any of these teams.
He wouldn't hurt anyone. But like,
you talk about a Commanders team, I think with Myles Garrett, they are in this situation where the Eagles are at.
Oh, absolutely. Frankly. But I would not. If I'm the Packers, I don't need edge rusher, so to speak.
Okay.
I need a receiver that actually can stay healthy because. Not to say Cooper Kupp isn't, but if you're Green Bay, you were in the playoffs playing with your 5th, 6th, and 7th receiver in the depth chart.
Yeah.
And you kept it a little close with Philly for the first 2 quarters, but if Philly didn't let off the gas and just like didn't want to hurt themselves, it would have probably been an absolute blowout.
Yeah.
Like bloodbath. I mean, that Packers team didn't even deserve to be in the playoffs based on what they were playing.
Yeah, no, and that was kind of sad. That was disappointing. That was, I mean, I know the Lions really don't have a lot to stand on as far as merit goes, but that was a little bit more disappointing from the Packers' point of view. I had some friends who are Packers fan. They're like, oh, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to win, yada, yada, yada. And then next thing you know, it kind of just went out the window.
And we all saw him in Cancun.
Yeah, we all saw him in Cancun. We were there last week, weren't we? It was beautiful weather.
No, we're not tan. Sorry.
Yeah, well, you just had, too many Mai Tais. They get to you. No, but speaking of a guy who, looks like he drank too many Mai Tais, he's been out a lot during his tenure, especially these past 2 years with the Rams. I'm talking Cooper Kupp. I still don't understand why they're trading this guy, despite being off. He's 2 years removed from an All-Pro, and then he's a couple years removed from being the Super Bowl MVP. And
he's also had 2 ACL injuries in the time since he's won the Super Bowl.
Okay, the dude has caught 67 passes for 710 yards. That is impressive, nevertheless, even though he's missed so many games.
Absolutely.
I mean, he looks relatively healthy going into this offseason, which is confidence building for teams to go after him. But
he's also 33.
Is he up for contract in a year?
I don't know for sure the contract situation, but I'll say this. He's also 33, had 2 ACL injuries.
But, I mean, does it really hurt? Because you got Puka Nacua, and he is a darn good threat. And then you got Cooper Kupp. I mean, you got the 1-2 punch. Why don't you stick with it if you're Matthew Stafford? Matthew Stafford went to the Rams. Puka Nacua was a rookie, if I'm not mistaken, and he kind of shined that year. Yeah, that's the year he broke the rookie receiving record. And then you got Cooper Kupp.
The reason he broke it, though, is because Kupp was out for the year. Kupp didn't play a single game.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the issue. It's like, fine, you beat the record.
But Stafford has always been a person of favoritism. And I think...
And that's the thing. If he's thrown to one guy... then the other guy's going to be like, where's my touches? Give me my touch.
True. And
he doesn't want to be like the LeBron and Wade, like you're in your best player's shadow.
Yeah. I'm saying
he's a great receiver. Don't get me wrong. He won the Triple Crown of receiver. He's great. But he's a player that, I mean, at this stage in his career, you want to sign him and he's okay. He doesn't have to get all the he's kind of like, to put it weirdly, kind of like Julio towards the tail end of his career.
Okay.
He's getting up there in age. He doesn't have to get every target, but you still got to respect him as a player.
Yeah, no, I fully, that's something I get. Now, with, where do you think he's going to land? We kind of talking about it before. You know, maybe the Lions, you think? Or
Maybe I've heard talks of it. If not Detroit, I think he might go. I've seen reports, maybe Washington, maybe Atlanta. I don't know because
okay. I've seen reports Steelers, Cowboys, Broncos, or Bills. And
I've seen those too. I like all of those.
Yeah, if he goes to Buffalo, I mean, it's a little bit colder between LA and Buffalo, but
he also went to school at Eastern Washington, so cold doesn't really bother him there.
True, but I mean, it's been a few years since he's been to school.
Well, yeah.
But my thing is that, like, if he wants to win now, I think the best situation he can go into is either Broncos or the Bills, considering that Bo Nix had a great season, even though he took the offensive coordinator from Buffalo and he's in Detroit now, former Western Michigan Bronco, might you. But my thing is that, you know, if he wants to go to either of those teams, I think he'll find success.
Oh, absolutely.
But the problem with the Broncos is you have to play the Chiefs every year, which is a pain in the butt. As a lot of people
but
say.
at the same time, I mean, it's not the end of the world either because I mean, we saw it this past year. I mean, Broncos should have swept the Chiefs in the regular season. I mean, the Broncos were a play away from beating the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like, it's not unheard of. I mean, they needed, I don't know what they really needed. I didn't look way back when, but I think it wouldn't hurt them to have Cup. I mean, as a mentor also for Knicks as well.
Yeah. Now, you want to talk about an end of the world scenario?
What's that?
I mean, this is cataclysmic. So, my Detroit Pistons, ladies and gentlemen, our Detroit Pistons had
they're still yours.
two good games, I think. They fought well in both of them. They dropped one to the Atlanta Hawks and in heartbreaking fashion. And then they come, I think this was, where was this at? Was this at LCA or was this at?
Yeah, you guys lost in LCA.
Back-to-back nights, too. Mm-hmm. And then we go in another heartbreaking fashion and lose on a half-court shot to the Cleveland Cavaliers, both on unbelievable shots, one by Trae Young and the other, who shot that last shot? Let's look.
I did not see. I actually did not see. Darius Garland.
31-footer. Wow, that's unbelievable. So that was, I mean, my thing with the Pistons is that, you know, you played decently well versus the Hawks. You basically shot for shot for them from range. But the problem is you were almost 10 points underneath them when it came to 3-point percentage. You had equal turnovers, but you out-rebounded them. So that's what kind of propelled them to that win there. And also, Cade Cunningham played out of his mind. Now, my argument, he played 30 points that night. He was 8 for 23, which is not the great, but he was 13 for 13 from the stripe, which really can help. That's how leaders do it. When they are struggling in one area, they usually pick up in the other. Very well done from Cade Cunningham. Then let's fast forward to the Cleveland game. The team shot basically 10 percentage points under the entire Cleveland shot. They shot 10 points above in both field goal and 3-point percentage here, folks. And they also, the reason why the game was so close is Cleveland had 24 turnovers to Detroit's 12. And my thing with this, again, Cade Cunningham showing he can make a difference. 13 for 13, perfect night from the stripe. That's how you do it as the captain of the Pistons. And then he shot a little bit better, 11 for 29 with 38 points in this game. Evan, do you think it's possible that Cade Cunningham could shove his name with his consistent play of 30 or more points in these back-to-back games into the MVP conversation?
I mean, I'd love to say that, yeah, but like at the same time, I don't know. I mean, for me, I don't watch the NBA much, so I don't even know who's even in consideration for MVP right now to even say who he could even be going against.
Yeah. I mean, but at least for just the in general stuff, he's playing great.
Yes, you can't take that away from him. I mean, he's playing great, but like also too, it also doesn't help that like Detroit's also imploding at the same time.
I mean, I wouldn't consider these games implosion games. I think
I wouldn't call those games imploding, but like if you are Detroit, you got to win those games.
Yeah, no,
you can't
you
shoot 10 percentage points less than the other team and expect to win, like you said. I mean,
but you lost by a heartstring. I mean, it's one of those things that happens in basketball. Can you turn it around? And they have a turnaround opportunity actually when's the 7th? Tomorrow night, they play the 76ers at home. Wow, this matchup predictor has changed a lot since the last time I checked it. We had Detroit. If you look on ESPN matchup predictor, folks, it had Detroit right around 56%. Now it's saying 57% for the 76ers. My thing is, for the keys for this game, you got to shoot better. You got to capitalize on points in the paint. I feel like a lot of teams are trying to be flashy, as you've always said. And you really can't turn over the ball, and you got to out rebound. My thing is can you push Joel Embiid in fast break opportunities? Can you get the ball out quick with rebounds? I think if you push tempo versus Philly, you can really win, especially if you play physical like Detroit has been playing all season. I do agree they're kind of on a losing skid.
I'll say this. If you are Cade, though, yes, you might not win MVP. You could still win most improved player.
Yeah, and I think that, I think he's actually in the lead for that. But my thing is that Kate Cunningham is a cornerstone player for Detroit. He has been all season. Malik Beasley has shown flashes of really good stuff. So a little bit of Tim Hardaway Jr. as well. But my thing is that without Cade, none of this is possible. And that's why I think, when you talk about the most valuable player to a team, you take Cade Cunningham off this roster, and they're just like they're winning like 2 or 3 games. They're not winning as many games as they can.
I mean, last year they won only 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, Cade Cunningham is making a difference in this locker room, and I think it is a great thing for this city, and people need to recognize it. If he wins most improved player, I'll be happy, but I want him to move on from just most improved and eventually win the MVP and then maybe a championship for Detroit. I think this team has a very good bright spot in this city. Now, let's look at some dark spots in the NBA. And I mean, some, really bad news about Jimmy Butler and just his attitude towards this.
At least he got traded.
I mean, he got traded, but that's one of the things that, like, I'm still like, it was a mega deal with multiple teams. I think Jimmy is, smiling ear from ear. He's out of LA. But one of the things I want to talk, I'm thinking Luka. He's out of Miami into San Francisco. One of my things with this, and I even saw it from his teammates, because I saw a video online showing Kevin Love's not Kevin Love, his teammate. Let me pull him up.
Kevin Love's on the Heat. If I'm not mistaken.
Let me look it up real quick. I was texting Zach about it a couple days ago. It was
Zach is very happy Jimmy's gone.
Oh, he's smiling ear from ear. And I mean, I can't blame him. I mean, I wanted to get that toxic guy out of town as soon as possible. I think it's really just a shame he did what he did when he did it for those guys. I just, but one of his teammates was posting like some crazy stuff on Instagram about his teammate. And it was just like, he's adding to it. And I think that's very immature of, the player who did it. I think it's Kevin Love.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't really want the Warriors to win the championship. I don't think they will.
I don't see either team winning the championship.
But I just want, it actually, it was Kevin Love, actually. He was, Ayo fucking Gano. And he did the Uncut Gems scene. And
beautiful.
He was just roasting Jimmy Butler. But now that we can all move on from that drama, and then something else got dumped on us a few nights ago, and in the dumbest trade of all time. You couldn't even do it in 2K if you wanted to.
Nope.
The Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis trade. And when you first heard this, what was your reaction?
Well, this solidifies why the NBA is absolutely a pain in the ass to watch. It's unwatchable. I mean, Luka was beloved in North Texas. I mean, I was at the day before COVID hit the United States, way back when I was at a game. I mean, he is loved there.
Yeah, and now some arguments could be made that people, like, he was going to, pay, be too much to pay when his upcoming contract. So
Anthony Davis is probably going to be a fortune and a half. So
I know, but I mean, he also failed multiple physicals this season. He isn't in the tip-top shape he was when he took him to the finals a previous season ago. And something that is very disturbing to me, and I saw it and I was like, all right, this makes no sense. The Mavericks owners want Texas to legalize sports gambling to make their franchise a little bit more lucrative. This is what I've been kind of reading in the conspiracy theories of online. I don't know if this is total fact. But with that said, they're trying to get rid of assets right now. Luka Doncic keeps them grounded in Dallas. And my thing is the Mavericks are also sending back refunds for people who are so pissed off at that franchise for trading a cornerstone player, probably a once-in-a-generation type player to the Lakers, that they're giving them refunds and season tickets. So they're getting rid of assets left and right. I wouldn't be surprised to see in the next 2 to 3 seasons the Mavericks move a bunch of players to where they have basically nothing, and then they move. Because this looks like a move either they're trying to tank and they're trying to get a good pick because they see something in the draft and they say Luka's unsignable when it comes to the end of his contract. But I still don't understand that. You have Kyrie Irving.
I don't think they're going to sell the team, though, because I know
they're going to move the team. They're going to move to Vegas, where sports gambling is legal. That's what I've heard in the microcosms I've kind of explored in the deep dark web. But
Dallas losing a team would be more detrimental to not just the NBA. I mean, Dallas is a mecca for sports.
Think about Vegas, though. A Vegas Mavericks team. Like, they got baseball, they got football, they're getting baseball in the A's, and they're getting they have all the 5 major sports, which is great for Vegas because Vegas is becoming the mecca of entertainment.
Yes, but think about it this way. Dallas as a city, I mean, the entire city is, I mean, everything is branded by the American Airlines company.
Yeah,
if you're leaving that,
yeah,
it's not just the Mavericks are leaving Dallas. It's everything that is owned by all that stuff is American Airlines.
Yeah, and they're
changing a brand of everything, and that's a city that is rooted in American Airlines.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, you want to talk about, a city that's kind of hopeless because the Stars are doing okay.
Stars are 3rd in the West right now.
Yeah, they're doing, I mean, they're making the playoffs, but I don't think they're winning the Stanley Cup.
Last year they were damn real close. And
yeah, but I still think the Oilers or even the Maple Leafs have a better argument for that cup
absolutely.
this year. And we'll get into that later in the show. But what I'm saying is that if you're Dallas and, you lose Luka, you're already sad. You realize you have Jerry Jones as your GM. You're already sad, and it's just one of those things. Well,
here's the weird part too.
It just sucks to be live in Dallas right now in Texas. You got nothing besides the Longhorns.
Yeah, do not forget about them, please.
Yeah, don't forget about the Longhorns.
They're gonna beat your Michigan team again.
I'm waiting for it, man. It
happened this year.
Well, I don't think they play them next year. So
unfortunately,
yeah, that was a good game. I enjoyed that game. That was it was a wake-up call, but also is one of those things that, at least Michigan fans, unlike Ohio State fans,
at least this year you actually had a schedule that isn't looked at really.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting next year. But we'll break that down in the up and coming weeks. The schedule as kind of national signing periods wrap up. See who Michigan or Michigan State or the rest of the NCAA D1 football has gotten. But a team, that is up and coming, that is going to probably make the playoffs. Knock on wood, knock on my head. Let's go Wings. They are on fire. Fire. This coach, Todd McLennan, is coach for 20 games. He has 2 7-game win streaks. We talk about a change of a locker room. We talked about that as soon as Todd, was there. And made his presence felt. Evan, what do you think of this turnaround? Do you think they have a chance to even secure a non-wild card playoff spot? Or, do you think my take earlier was crazy? Do you think they legitimately don't have a shot to win the cup?
I mean, they're playing out of their mind. I can say that with certainty. But, I mean, it's now the All-Star break. All right.
Yeah.
Can you sustain it? We saw it last year that you guys were red hot up into the All-Star break. And then you guys sold the shit.
Yeah.
As long as you guys continue to play the way you're playing right now, you guys are okay. But that's the thing. You have to play the way you're playing right now for the rest of the season. Otherwise, you're screwed.
Yeah. And the the conference that we're in is tough. Like
You guys,
the East is tough.
The
and
East is extremely tough this
it's
year.
one of those things that if the Wings do it like what the Blues did in 2017, the West isn't that tough. It hasn't been historically that tough for some
The
teams to get
toughest
out of
team
it.
out west currently right now resides in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
Edmonton or Dallas are your two toughest teams coming out of the West.
And that's
So as long as you can play the game the way it should be and keep winning, you just have to hope that the East falls apart, which I don't see happening for any time soon.
And that's the thing is like, with the schedule left, we have Tampa Saturday before the All-Star break. My thing with this game and even the last game in the electricity as it was, the thing is that the special teams played 50% hockey. They had 4 chances and they scored on 2 of them, which was good. And then, Talbot, obviously, in that game, they should never went to overtime. 2 weak goals towards the end of that third period that if I'm Talbot, I want back. But this team overall is playing a lot better. Dylan Larkin's playing out of his mind. Patrick Kane broke the all-time shootout goal record. You just got so many great storylines and so many so much good momentum. What are your keys for this Tampa game going into it? You got to set a tone for the rest of the season. Tampa is kind of turning into a rival a little bit, especially after the Kucherov fiasco. Like, what are your expectations for this game? What is your game plan if you're Detroit going into it?
Keep it simple. You have to keep it simple. This is a very monumental game before going into the All-Star break, and you need to play your game. I mean, you're playing great hockey right now. Keep that momentum playing because hockey is a momentum game. You have to keep it going if you want. Like, if you're going to win this game, this is a test to see because Tampa right now is clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Can you make it far in the Eastern Conference? And if you can't, I think this game will be determining if you're going to be, I hate to say it, but if you're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that, Detroit has been on a tear. Tampa beat a good Ottawa team 2 nights ago, 4-3, and then they lost to the New York Islanders on the first.
Yikes.
But it's one of those things that, Tampa can get hot, and we've seen them get hot in previous games. My thing with what happened a few nights ago, the last time they played them, and I was in the building, the Kucherov fiasco, this team already has a fire lit under its ass, and that's fueled by the Todd father. The simple phrase of play fucking hockey is working in Detroit. And I'm excited and I'm happy that phrase is getting home to the players. Everything's simple. And as you said, making things simple. And I think this is one of the things that Lalonde struggled at was making things simple. And I really do like the strategy that Todd has, but I think it's more or less this game comes down to the young stars. We talk about
hockey's X's and O's. As long as you're playing simple hockey, I mean, it doesn't have to be flashy to win games. I mean, we look at all the teams in years past. Yeah, you can have flashy players, but trying to be more interesting or whatnot.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the young guys on this roster.
Oh, it's great. It's great to see.
Like a Marco Casper, Joe Volino, Tyler Mott. These guys are doing Rasmussen. And then even Soderbaum as well is playing unbelievable. Like, one of the things I find interesting about Soderbaum, and I'm happy they brought him up from Grand Rapids, is he reminds me of a lot of Anthony Mantha, but with hands. And that is something that we needed in Detroit. We needed a big guy. And I think sending down Shine again to the minors before this game
he's a I'll say this. He's a GR staple.
Yeah, he is.
Yes, it's cool that he made it to the Wings, but he's a GR staple.
What I'm saying, that dude's physical. He brought a physicality that Detroit didn't have. And Shine would do whatever Todd told him to do. As a guy who is on the later end of his career, 33, thought he really wouldn't be in this position to be on the Wings, and he is. My thing with this is that, bring Shine up here. Let him kind of bully Kucherov a little bit on that first line. You know what I mean? Like, you want to set an edge in that building because when Detroit gets rocking, and there was a little skirmishes here and there after the play last time they played, if they have a big physical guy or just a guy who can, be a nuisance to guys like Kucherov, then why not bring him up for this game? That was only my argument. I like Shine. I'm happy I got to saw him play. I'm happy he got to get his first NHL point off an assist of Dylan Larkin's goal to the Flames. But it's one of those things that I think Detroit, going forward really has to, buy at the trade deadline. I think it's a buy season. And we'll
Who would you
see.
want?
I mean, I think, realistically getting we got our forwards pretty set in. I think another solid defenseman would help us out a crap ton. I think Detroit's defense is good, but if we lose like a Mo Snyder, we're going to need a guy to step in that role. Maybe a veteran player who plays a little more physical. What I'm thinking of an archetype right now is Nicholas Cromwell, that type of player, a big hitter, someone who can really just say, you're not getting near my goalie. Because I feel like even though the net play has helped us and has gotten better, I feel like I just want a bruiser on this team, like a Bob Kroger or something. Yeah, no, God, no. I don't want anyone that dirty. That was disgusting. And that brings me to my next point. I sent you some stuff on Twitter over the weekend. It seems like hockey is just dirty right now. It's not physical.
He sent me some dirty clips.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys taking out each other's legs. I forgot who it was. It was the guy from Minnesota. So guy's taking a face off and he just lays on his head and drops him right there on the ice. He's bleeding from, like, you can't. This is how you get bad publicity in the media for all of hockey. It doesn't need to be there. It should be taken out. Those guys should be disciplined correctly by the league, because this is just putting a bad name on hockey right now. And I think there's no place for it in the game. It's a beautiful game. It should be played correctly. Yes, there are times to get physical. Yes, there's times to fight, but fight in the ways that everyone else has, and don't do cheap shots where it's going to injure people. That's all I have to say about that. But we talk about great hockey happening here in the state of Michigan. Let's talk about the great city of Toronto, Canada, and see what's going on up there.
Well, before we do that, I mean,
yeah,
Michigan and Michigan State hockey have been playing.
Yeah, we do have that. Well. Yeah.
The great thing is both of us will actually be in attendance for a very special game on Saturday.
Michigan State is ranked number 2 and Michigan's ranked number 13, if my memory suits me correctly.
And I mean, both teams are playing out of their mind. I mean, it is fun to see both of our Michigan college hockey teams doing as well as they are as well.
And that's one of my thing is that this is going to be a great game. I'm interested to see how they play, in a bigger arena, because sometimes that does the backdrop, the messes with you. And I want to see if they can utilize, maybe we'll see a great, overtime goal or a shootout.
I'm just hoping for that crowd.
Okay, yeah, no, I think there's enough Michigan and Michigan State people in that.
I think it's going to be a very packed game. I mean, the fact that the entire arena is sold for tickets, I mean,
yeah, that brings me confidence, especially with the Wings playing at 1. I will be down pound for both games, and I'm so excited to see the Wings take on Tampa, and then a great collegiate matchup. Evan, who do you got winning this game, and what's your X factor for this game?
The state game.
The state game, yes.
I would say it goes to the future wing and Trey Augustine. The kid is the number 1 goalie in college hockey currently right now with save percentage, wins, and overall stats, honestly. I mean, I know we can talk. I talked about Isaac Howard 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
honestly,
that was my X factor. I think State's going to win this game.
Oh, State has. I mean, State historically in this matchup has not been doing too well. I mean, they won the past 3 years, but if State tells us anything right now, this team is damn well, very, very well done. And they put great. What also helps is they get a crack at this Michigan team the night before in their own home arena. I mean, it's going to be a great game. I really do think it's going to be a great game. The last time these two teams did play, Michigan State won in OT. I mean, they're both very, very good teams. So honestly, I think Trey Augustine, as long as he balls out, it States to win. I mean, not to say if he doesn't ball out, but it's Trey Augustine's my X factor.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. I think I'm excited to see this kid in person, see what we've been excited for. He's still a young kid, so we'll see what's going on there. But as far as the break and the lack of NHL hockey topics, we'll have a great topic for you and kind of a little history lesson in hockey next week. We have a very special guest joining the show, and we're excited to release information in the week coming about him. But speaking of special guests and special players, let's talk Alexander Ovechkin.
What's up, brother?
And yes, and the red hot Washington Capitals. What do you think? Do you think he can beat the record this year?
He's 15 behind as we speak right now.
Okay, at the All-Star break, he's beating it and setting his own. I think he's going to score. How many goals does he have right now? Okay, so he's at 25 for the folks in the room.
He is at 25 currently as we speak.
So what do you think the end number is for him? So he's 15 more, so that puts him at 45 goals on the season, correct?
What do you mean? No, he has 25 total. Right
okay.
He has 25 goals currently right now as we speak. And he's 15 behind
so
him.
It puts him at 40 goals for the season if he wants to break the record, correct? Yes. Okay. So do you think he can score 45 goals on the season and beat it by 5? Where do you think the line's drawn for him?
I want to say he'll beat it by a little bit more, but at the same time, I also could see it. Maybe he has a dry spell, and for all we know, beats it next year.
Okay.
I truthfully think he's only going to beat it by like 1 or 2.
Okay. So I know we talked about this a few weeks ago. I want to bring it up now. So say he scores 15 more goals, which I think is very plausible and more for Alexander Ovechkin. I could see him scoring another 25. I think it's a 50-goal season for him. He's a great player still.
That he is.
Where do you rank him when and if he beats Gretzky's goal record? Where do you rank him in the hierarchy?
The greatest hockey player of all time. I will say that. I will still put Ovi in the top 5. I'll put at least offensive players if we'll go there. Because I have rankings based on each position. But honestly, Ovi in my book is still top 10. I mean, there's other players that are ahead of him, but it's not just because of goals. It's just who they are as players in general.
I think, when
he's at least top 25 in my book. At the very
25.
Least. Okay. At the very least, all time.
Okay. That's fair assessment. Now,
if we're talking goals all time, I would absolutely put him top 5. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's one of the most dangerous goal scorers of all time. Now,
not just our generation.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's other players that I could put ahead of him, just better players overall. You look at Mark Messier. I mean, arguably one of the greatest players of all time with that. I mean,
well, my understanding was growing up as a Wings fan is that Wayne Gretzky's 1 and Gordie Howe's 2. That was my understanding.
Yeah, Howe also is definitely up there.
I mean, it's a different form of hockey. It's way more physical and whatnot. It really, it gets you to that next level. And he's got some crazy stories about his career.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing with Gretzky though too is I know yes, he'll beat the goal record, but think about it this way: Gretzky, if you take Gretzky and take all of his goals out of the equation, he's still top 5 all time in points. If you take out his goals.
Interesting. Okay.
The fact that he can say that, you can take all my goals away and I can still have just my assists as points and still be top 5 in points all time.
Yeah, that's
insane.
That is a crazy statement right there, but I think, you talk about crazy careers and you can't.
The longevity Ovechkin's had is awesome, though.
Yeah.
I will give him that.
And I mean, you want to talk about crazy successful careers, crazy long careers. Look no further than Michigan State's own Tom Izzo. But they've been struggling the past 2 games, falling to USC and UCLA. They're 18-4 right now. They're ranked 17th in the nation, and Purdue just got to number 5. Purdue broke the top 10 right there.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, as much as I want Michigan State to win the Big Ten, I think it has to go home to your very own Purdue Boilermakers. Boiler up, baby. But
they're overrated as hell. I can say that right now.
Okay. But, I mean, you got the Maryland at 19, Wisconsin at 20, and then, to round out, you got UCLA at 22.
It's only because they beat State. That's why they're in there.
Okay. So. But, I mean, still, that's still a very promising thing. One of my questions is, where's the University of Michigan been in this conversation? I mean, they've dropped off.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I was telling everyone all season long, Michigan is going to have streaks of what they're going to show you what they can do, and then they're also going to have streaks where it's going to be like, what is going on inside that locker room? Well, they're ranked number 24th in the nation right now.
I saw a stat earlier about this saying that when Michigan, like this little trapezoid of greatness, so to speak, the guy was saying that Michigan, when they're on, they're absolutely elite. But when they're off, they are god awful.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the inconsistency that you can't have if you want a chance to be A, playing for the Big Ten title, and B, if you want a chance to be in the tourney.
And my thing is you can't have your center with the highest field goal percentage. That's like Golden is a good player,
but that's a given. If your center has the highest field goal percentage, he's the closest to the rim.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you want to have other players touch that, and
saying.
then, like, especially in terms of how Michigan plays the game. Like, your center has the highest, and then the next guy off is Trey Donaldson with a 47. So it's almost a 20-point drop off, and then you got a guy in Wolf, another center, 50, and then you got like your guard and Gale at 46. So they're all shooting relatively well. But my thing is that, like, you have to have your starting center. There's no reason in my mind that there's
if Golden
is not getting the most rebounds of the team. Like, Danny Wolf has the rebounds, and he's not the starting center right now.
Yikes!
And it's like, what are you doing? You got to figure out, you rotate him, sit Golden, but he's responsible for 15 points a night. How can you sit the kid? But you got to have a conversation. You got to get on the boards. I mean, the dude's almost 8 feet. He's not 8 feet. He's over 7 foot.
I was gonna say, I'm like,
tallest man alive. Yeah, seriously.
How's the oxygen up there, buddy?
How's Mount Everest?
Be like, hey, sir, you breathe different air.
Yeah, you do. How's the jet stream looking today?
Exactly.
No, but like my thing with the University of Michigan is, yes, they're very streaky. They're second in the Big Ten right now.
Are they?
And they're probably their section of the Big Ten, I'm guessing.
The Big Ten's all one conference.
Oh, it is. And let's. I mean, that's what
Michigan.
They're 17-5. So I mean, they're not very far off from a Michigan State, but it's getting down to crunch time.
Who are your losses to, though? Who'd you lose to?
March, my friend. We've lost to Minnesota.
Oh, boy.
We've lost to Purdue in a blowout, 91-64. We've lost to Arkansas and Oklahoma. So, and then we have a redemption game in 2 games from now against Purdue.
What was your quality win, if we're being Selection Sunday?
Our quality win was against Xavier.
Okay.
And UCLA. That was our 2 quality wins. And Wisconsin.
So I would give you Wisconsin as your quality win there.
Okay, so I mean, we've had 3 good wins of substance on the season.
All right, what's MSU's?
All right, let me go.
As of right now.
MSU's as of right now?
As of right now.
Okay, so
is it Kansas?
Let me flip to their page real quick. Sorry, folks, we're kind of
going off script
here. We're diagnosing our teams. I think Michigan does have a chance. I think Michigan State has less of a chance. And let me tell you why of winning the Big Ten. Because of how unorthodox they play. Because that's the best part. I mean, that's not the best part, dude. You talk about a Michigan State team that gets down big, they instantly struggle. And that's one of my things going into this is I don't think they can win it because
they were never down against USC though until they lost.
UCLA, they struggled in the first and the turnovers as well. But I mean, if a team you cannot score quickly and rack up points fast, you struggle versus squads, and it's just one of those things that I really do think Michigan State is a great team. I think they're a well-coached team with Tom Izzo at the helm, but I just think they struggle in more ways than one versus teams that can shoot the 3. And Michigan's a team that sometimes can actually get their head out of their ass and shoot the 3. And that's where I think a team like Michigan State, who has one of the lowest shooting percentages of 3 points throughout the nation, will be, if Michigan gets on a hot streak and does a 9-point swing, it's going to be a different story. But no, sorry, folks. Michigan is 3rd, Purdue is 1st, Michigan State is 2nd, and then we're in the 3rd spot, followed by UCLA, Bruins, Wisconsin Badgers, the Tar Heels, and then the Fighting Illini.
Tar Heels.
The Terrapins.
I'm just wait, are we going to ACC now?
No, my bad.
What?
No, the Terrapins.
Right, so Michigan State's quality wins are who?
All right, I'm looking for it still. My bad. But what's your so their quality wins are fucking North Carolina.
That's a big one.
Yeah, North Carolina's big, and
Because they were ranked at the time.
I mean, I'm looking at this, dude. North Carolina, and I mean, you lost to Kansas when they were 1.
Okay.
Right now, you got, Illinois.
Okay.
And then that's it. I mean, you got the same amount as Michigan. The only thing that you could argue there is that you have won over a team that was ranked number 12th in the nation, and Michigan has another team ranking win. So it's like, I think the squads are very close, but you only beat Western Michigan by 18 points. It was 80-62. I mean, that's not like something that like I would hang my hat on, but like,
honestly, if you're Michigan State, I know you don't like how they're not scoring a bunch, but look at it this way. Yes, you lost to UCLA. Did you see what you did on the offensive board side, or at least when you came to rebounding? You out-rebounded UCLA 45-25.
Yeah. Yeah.
And 15 of those are on offensive rebounds.
Yeah. And
it's the turnovers that what's cost Michigan State. I mean, yeah, but think about it this way. It's quite impressive with the boards.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I really do think it will really help Michigan State to kind of continue with the way they're doing. I don't think evading and going strictly to the 3 will help them out, but we'll see as they go along here.
Well, lastly, before we go, I will say this.
No, we got one more segment. We got the MLB.
But before we go from the college hoops, this past weekend, 19 teams that were ranked in the top 25 lost.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, Michigan State being one of them. I think, honestly, this year, college hoops is going to be quite fun. But what's also quite fun is good old free agency.
Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be crazy when it comes down to what the Tigers do, because I've heard rumors, you sign a Jack Flaherty.
Welcome home.
Welcome home. Welcome back after winning a World Series with the Dodgers.
Hey, at least he's coming back.
Yeah, I mean, very much so. So with this rotation right now, you got the young kid in Job, you got Cobb, you got Flaherty, and you got Skubal. Is that a top 5 rotation in the MLB? Sitting where it is right now.
Who are you, if you put him at 5, who are ahead of you?
All right, obviously the Dodgers is one of them. Then you got Boston, I would say.
Okay.
And then you would have another squad. Those are the 2 teams off the top of my head I can name off. What do you got besides those 2?
I would say Philly.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah,
I would see Philly because you have the 3-headed monster.
Yeah.
Honestly. Oh, Seattle.
Okay. Yeah,
Seattle has all aces on their roster. It's just they collectively work as a team.
Yeah, no, and I think that's what we did last year. I don't see us doing it this year. I think it's going to be a different style of baseball this year. And hopefully we win more games than we did last year. I think that's the truth goal every year.
Well, yeah. I think maybe top 10 rotation. I don't know, because there's a lot of things that could change from now until spring training.
Yeah, I fully agree.
From spring training to opening day. For all we know, who knows? I could see it be a top 10 rotation. I could see it be top 5.
Honestly,
it's a better rotation than we came into the year with.
If all the guys fire on all cylinders like they did last year, besides Jackson Job, I think that's arguably a top 5. Maybe
I think it's a promising
rotation.
It's promising.
I mean, I think if you get Skubal throwing another Cy Young year, and then Flaherty doing what he did with the Dodgers in the playoffs, I think and then you get Cobb and seeing what he did versus Detroit a little bit. I like that pickup in Alex. I think that pickup is really good. Only time will tell. The real question is that, do you think it is plausible for these Detroit Tigers to be a World Series contender this year?
I think they have what it takes. I mean, they showed great grit throughout the back half of the season and also the playoffs. I don't think they're there yet. I think give them a year and then they'll be there.
Okay.
I think you just got to re-up, reload. I mean, obviously, you're very, very young.
Yeah.
So I would just say, just keep doing what you're doing.
Okay.
Hopefully, come to agreement with Skubal. And I would say, run it back next year and see where it goes, because you have such a young team. I would say, just see how everyone develops, and then you can know for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy times for teams right now in this free agency. You got a guy like Alex Bregman still up for contract. I think if Detroit gets him, I think they could push him over the hump, at least for the AL. I don't know if anyone's beating LA, and that's my fear. And that's what makes baseball, I think, one of the most interesting sports, because there's no salary cap. And I don't like that, folks. I want competition amongst teams. I think teams like LA poison the game. I think they're a detriment to baseball, and I think they're going to make this game boring again, which is something baseball does not need, because you got like Cam Newton going on air and saying, oh yeah, I think the WNBA is going to beat MLB in ratings in the next 20 years. And I'm like, that's nuts. But no, he's onto something, though. At least that's competitive.
He's on something, that's for sure.
I mean, but my thing is this, dude. At least WNBA, it's not one franchise that owns everything. It's a multitude. Detroit's getting the spark back because the WNBA and the Pistons took out that name as an LLC again. So you might see the WNBA Detroit Sparks back in
There was an NBA team in Detroit?
Yeah, there's a WNBA team in Detroit.
Since when?
There was. Now
no, I know.
Back.
Since when, though?
I don't know.
Is this just one of your visions?
No, this is not one of my visions. I see dead people. It was Detroit Shock, and
I was gonna say, I'm like,
yeah, and they played. They actually had 3 championships, and they played till 2009. And
so no wonder none of us know it. We were
it was 2003, 2006, and 2008. They're 3 championships.
So
they're founded in 1998. Yeah. So I mean, they not the spark, but the shock. The Pistons put a name on that. So I'm excited to see some more basketball in Detroit. Hopefully, it'll bring more people to the LCA to watch Pistons games. And hopefully, subsequently, they'll support the Detroit Shock when that comes into it.
That just doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I mean, I never knew we had a WNBA team too. You learn new things every day. But, I mean, one of the new things that I learned today, and I think I'm going to recommend this to the Detroit Pistons franchise if they pick up the Shock, is that they look at the app called NutriStack. Because, man, oh, man, I tell you, I have received so many thanks from people out there saying, Pop, the NutriStack app is the best way to find all your supplements out there. They have millions of supplements and, protein bars to protein powders to pre-workouts. They have everything, and it'll get you the most bang for your buck. Evan, before we wrap up the show tonight, let's NutriStack some picks here. Who is your dog of the week?
Honestly, so if we're looking back last week, honestly, I mean, not much did happen last week.
It was kind of
it was a boring week, honestly. Truthfully, I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. I'm saying Jimmy Butler. No. In all realism, it's Patrick Kane. I think Pat, what he did, and what he has done with this Wings organization deserves some credit. He's kind of had flashes of his former self, and I think that's a very amazing thing. He broke the record for most goals in a shootout at 53. I think that's awesome for his career, and I think that's awesome for his legacy. I think he'll go down as one of the most, one of the, not if the greatest American sniper of all time.
What about Chris Kyle? Come on now.
Well, we're not talking about actual guns here. We're talking about.
You said the most American greatest sniper.
Yeah, I did. But anyways, so you have no idea who your dog of the week is?
Come back to me and I'll figure it out later.
Fair. All right, folks, we'll post the dog of the week soon when Evan figures that out. But from all of us over here at the Super Sports Bros, we want to thank you for tuning in and hope you enjoy the Super Bowl. And as always,
Go Birds.
Go Birds. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, we do have a Spotify. Look us up at supersportsbros.com. And we're also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for the short content and more of my rants on Twitter. But yes, tune in.
Every episode will be dropped at 9 a.m. Saturday morning.
Yes,
so you can have your cartoons.
Yes. Thank you for listening, folks. Enjoy.